In this video, we are going to use the Vue Transitions API to add some really nice animations to a simple videos app that I built for seeing my YouTube videos. And you can see how the animations are buttery smooth here. And if you want to see a video, when you click on a video, it's going to open up in this view mode with the dark background. And then when you go back, you can see that. And how about if I tell you I didn't write a single piece of custom animation code for this? I just used some CSS properties. And this is exactly the power of the Vue Transitions API. Hey everyone, it's Zoeb Khan here and I'm a senior front-end engineer. So in this video, I'm not going to go over how I built actually the functionality for this whole app because I want to focus on the Vue Transitions API and what it brings to the table for web developers. But just to go over it, I'm just going to give you a general overview of how the app works here. So there's a videos dashboard, something like this. And I have some of my YouTube playlist videos from my YouTube account here. Now these videos can be filtered by the tag from here. So videos related to the chat series that I built are here only, and for the maps are here. And then there's also a sort button which can be used to sort the videos according to their date of publishing. Notice one thing here, that all of the information about the sorting and the tags selected are actually present in the route. So for each of the tag changes and the sorting, we actually change the root parameters here. Now this is important for the Vue Transitions API, and we're going to see that why in a minute. Any video can be clicked to take to the dark mode, viewing with the video player, and now you can play this video and it's going to play the video with the YouTube player. And you can go back again. You can come back with another video. So this is a basic functionality of the app, and if you go back to the app itself, you can see that in your source code, we have pretty simple. We have two components, the videos dashboard, and we have the video view, which is actually the detailed video. And we have just a service to get the videos for the playlist, which it gets once the app runs. Great. Now, if you want a complete tutorial on how to build such an app, I can create a follow-up video with a separate tutorial for this. So tell me in the comments if you'd like such a video, and I will try to come up with a tutorial for this purpose. Great. Okay, so let's now move on with the main topic of the video, and that is, what is the Vue Transitions API? Now, the Vue Transitions API is an animation API recently introduced, which takes CSS transitions to the next level and allows us to have transitions between page root changes instead of only on a single page. Now, it is in an experimental stage with releases in Chromium-based browsers such as Chrome and Edge, but they are coming to Apple and Firefox soon as well, so you can count on broad-based browser support in the future. Now, Angular added this support for the Vue Transitions API in its latest release with just a single line of code, and that we do on the router provide function. So how do we convert this app to that smooth animated app that we just saw? Let's get started with adding the API in our app for the first step. So we are going to go in our app.config where we specify the provide router function. So here, along with all of the other with utility functions, we just need to add another utility function called with Vue Transitions. Now remember, this will be available. This is available in Angular version 17. So make sure to update your Angular app to Angular version 17 if you want to use this. Great. So let's see what difference does it make. And now when we go here, we can see, and if you shift, you can see a nice subtle animation, which is the default crossfade animation. And for this, we actually don't need to do anything. So that's a nice plus for it. Now, how does this work? So to see that, we need to go in the Chrome developer tools, and we can go in our animation profile in more tools in the animations section, and we can pause our animation here. And then when we click on any of the buttons, nothing will happen, but the animation will be captured. When we click on this, we can actually use the scrubber to animate it like this. So this is exactly what happens. The previous view fades out and the new view fades in. This is the crossfade animation. And when we go in elements, we can see exactly how this is done. So you can see here a view transition section here at the really top of your document. So in our section here, you can see we have a view transition, and we just have a view transition group called root. Now this represents the whole page that is currently loaded, or the whole document you can see. And this is going to contain an image pair. This is basically the transition that is happening. So we have an old image and we have a new image. And the Vue Transitions API basically transitions between the old and the new for this time. Great. So this all happens automatically, and with just enabling the Vue Transitions API in the Angular router. But what more can we do with this? And how can you separate out different elements on your page? Let's just enable this animation again so that we can go back to normal. So how do we actually separate out different elements on your page so that the browser animates between them? Now that is easy. We have a Vue Transition name property. Now the Vue Transition name can be any name except for none, but this name should be unique and it should be same for the elements which are being transitioned amongst. So in our case, let's try it out on our header first. So you'll notice when you click on a video, our header has the same text here. So the only thing that changes is the arrow here, the back arrow. Now we don't want our whole header to actually go away and the videos to actually disappear and then come back again. We want the my videos to remain the same because the text is the same. This is going to give a nice transition to our toolbar text. So how do we actually do that? So let's first locate our my videos text here in our code. So we're going to go to the videos dashboard and you can see in our dashboard we have a nav here which has a subdiv called my videos, and then we are also going to go in our videos view, which is the detail page, and here also we have a nav, but the only difference is that we have an arrow button here. Now remember, these are different these are different components in Angular, but you'll see how seamlessly it transforms between different components as well. So what do we do now? The text is the same, so all that we need to do is we need to give a view transition name which is the same and unique to both of them. So in the class here, since we are using Tailwind in our app, we are going to give the arbitrary properties notation in Tailwind because the view transition name is not supported as yet. So we're going to do it like this. We're going to do view transition name. Let's call this toolbar text. Great. And then we're going to do the same here as well. View transition name toolbar text. Okay. So the name is the same and the name is unique. Let's try this out and see how this looks. Okay, so now when we click on this, we can see that it sort of jumps in. Now, why does it jump in like that? Now, when we inspect our text here, we're going to see some issue here. And that is that this whole div actually spans the entire width of the header. So basically, this whole header is just transforming itself. That's not what we want. We just want it to move from one side because of the arrow. So one thing we can do that here is to add a fit content property, and in Tailwind we use wfit for it. This is going to make the container for the my videos text just fit that content itself and not more than that. So let's just copy this to this as well, and now let's test it out. Now when we click on this, we can see that the text shifts slightly to the right and there is a nice little transition as you can see on the top, and we don't even realize that this is a different component. Great. Let's inspect this a bit again and see what happens in our animation. So we're going to pause this again and we're going to click on this again. And now when you see here, you can see this animation happening. But in the elements, you can see that we have two groups now, and that is how it manages the different animations. So there's a root animation, which is the default crossfade, which still happens as it did before. But there is a toolbar text here, which only happens on this text. And it transitions, it takes a snapshot of the old toolbar text and the new toolbar text, and then it transitions between the position and the size and the width of that snapshot. Great. So this gives us a lot of ideas. Like how about if we add a unique view transition name to each of our videos in our card view here. But then the problem is, how do we make it unique? Now, fortunately, because each video has a YouTube video ID, we can actually do that quite easily. So let's go back to our code and let's go to our videos dashboard here. And in the videos dashboard, you can see that we have a for loop across our videos, and then within that we have a div. So how about we give a view transition name to each of these divs? Okay, so let's try that. And since we want to make it dynamic, we are going to use the style dynamic binding provided by Angular. So we're going to do view transition name and we're going to give it a unique name. So we're going to say video dash and we're going to give the same video ID that we're using at the top here. Great. So every video should have a different ID, and that is going to uniquely identify every card as a separate element. Okay, let's try this out and let's see how this looks. Let's start by sorting the things. So if we sort it now, we can see that yes, we get this nice reorganization of the cards without doing anything else. So we have smooth animations among the cards itself. And if, for example, we go with this thing and we go in material, you will see that what happens is that if the card is being reorganized, it changes the place. But if it goes away, it sort of crossfades out. Now let's see what happens in our developer tools again. And if you go in our animations again, let's pause it and let's sort it. And we can now see that our animations occur pretty nicely. But what happens in the view transition? And you will see now that we have a view transition group for each of the videos. And this is really the key to understanding view transitions API and how to use them effectively in your apps. Now in this case, we only have 2 videos, but you can easily judge that if we have a lot of videos, like for example, if we have a lot of videos here in the all section, you can now see the amount of, sorry, let's pause this again and then sort this, and you can see now that the view transition is now filled with all of the videos. So just to keep in mind that it can get a bit slow when there are lots of groups. So a good tip would be to keep your cards or your list elements to a reasonable number of on a single page to keep the animations performant. Okay, so this is really nice, and we didn't need to really write any custom code for our animations except for the view transitions identifier. Great. Okay, now all that's left is now to fix the transition from the videos card view to the new videos view. Now we would like the card to actually travel to this center of the screen to give a nice transition between this section. So how do we do that? Now, as I said, the view transition name, that is really the key to the view transitions API, and we need to use the same name. Fortunately, we have the same ID in the video view as well, which we get from this root here. So we can just give that to our main YouTube player, and let's go to our video view, and in the video view you can see we have a YouTube player here. We can simply give a dynamic style binding to this view transition name, and the dynamic binding would be the same video dash, and let's call this ID, and now let's test things out. And now you can see that it seamlessly transitions to our main video. Now it is almost similar to how you would have it on, on your mobile app, for instance. The interactivity is really nice. Now here, I'm using the Angular YouTube Player latest next version, which includes an optimization to show the image and a dummy play button for the video to improve load times. And this works with the View Transition API very nicely, because otherwise, if you only use the embed code, it's going to take more time to load, and there's a flash in between that time. So the transition is not going to be that nice. Great. So now you can see how magical it is to create nice looking smooth animations with the View Transitions API. But in practice, when I have tried it out, I think we need to keep in mind 2 things to get everything right. And the first is, in Angular, it is attached to the router. So we need to have a route change to fire the View Transitions. This is why I have kept the tag and the sort parameters from the root itself. This is a good practice in any case as well, but in this case, it ensures that the view transitions are run across route changes. So if you want to trigger the transitions for anything, make sure its state is stored in the router so that the view transitions can run. The second thing is that the transitions are made on the position and the width and the heights. So make sure to have the elements you want to transition to have the correct width and heights, otherwise it's not going to look the way you want. We saw an example in the header here when the width wasn't the size of the text, and that was causing issues. So as an example, another example, you can see that it transitions to this image pretty nicely, but that is only because the YouTube player has a specific width set, which I did before. Now, if we don't do that, and let's remove this, you're gonna see the width of the big YouTube player will span the whole screen. And when you click on reusable this, you can see the transition basically just goes to the whole screen. And to see this more closely, you can actually pause the animation again and you can see this. Okay, so when you click on this, you're gonna see that the transition basically happens to the whole screen because the width spans to the whole screen. So to make sure that it spans to just the size that you want, make sure the dimensions, the width and height of the elements are the same that you want them to appear in the transition. And it's going to appear seamlessly then, just like this. Great. And that's it. I hope you were inspired by this app as much as I was and intrigued about the possibilities with the View Transitions API with Angular. I foresee it making it much easier to create animated apps in the future just because of its simplicity. So thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me to grow and to get encouraged to create more videos like this. And I'll see you next time in the next video.